Good morning. Happy Odin's Day. Happy Wednesday, everyone. A lot of people are not very happy. Why? Because they're sequestered in their homes. Because they're not able to go out and do the things that they love to do the things that they've become habitually accustomed to. I won't say addicted because people will take too much offense to that. However, it really is a type of addiction that people have. They're addicted to social contact. And yes, we are social animals. And yes, we do thrive on social contact. So I'm not making this a negative. I'm just saying that this is a great time to reflect on a lot of personal habits that can possibly get modified as a result of what we are going through. Happiness, though, doesn't depend on my contact with others. It doesn't depend on anything really outside myself except that which I designate to create the happiness feelings which I already have inside of me. Yes, happiness is relative to my state and circumstances if I allow that to be, if I'm aware that this happens. I consistently see people, particularly women, I'm not singling you out, women are emotional, they thrive on connection and contact. They're not in the realm of rationality. Most women aren't like men are. Of course, men use rationality to escape from their feelings a great deal. I hesitate using the word men because most males are not men. They are not mature men. They have not matured. They're still trapped in the adolescent boy or teenage boy. Most of them, I would say probably 85%. Now, if this offends you guys, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you have a problem taking this personally. It could be an opportunity for you to make yourself into a man, to be mature. So, happiness is easy to create. In fact, I can do it right now. Yeah. I'm smiling. I have a feeling of general exuberance without having to do anything special to gain it. It's just a state. Now, all of you can remember the feelings of happiness. Well, I shouldn't say all. There's some people, unfortunately, who can either not recall when they've been happy or maybe haven't ever felt happy, or if it was so fleeting that they weren't able to hang on to that state. So from my perspective and many long years of working with people and coaching people and attempting to get people to unlock the key to themselves, which is actually we find inside ourselves, that happiness is a state which can find itself easily accessed. Now, I have spoken at length about this. I have created other videos about this on how to do this. I'm not going to go into it today. However, what I want to do is set you up, if you wish. If you don't care to do that, you can turn this off and move on to whatever else is interesting you. I want you to visit all the happiness you've ever had. I want you to recall, those of you who can, please, let's recall that state of happiness, not what circumstances were behind it, not what led up to it, none of that. Just the feeling of happiness. Let's go there right now. Let's get that feeling. Now let's take our time. We're going to take a couple minutes. So remember the times you felt happy. Was it this morning? Was it 10 years ago? Whenever it was. Or you could actually, even if you wish, go into the future and imagine what it would feel like to have this happiness, to get into this state of happiness. Can we go there? Can you go there? Let's go there right now. And let's feel that happiness. You might even want to just close your eyes Just close your eyes, feel this feeling, this set of feelings. Maybe there's a set of feelings that come with it. Let's let it well up inside of ourselves. Now, some of you may want to do this by meditating on the happiness you felt and had, or, there's a couple of types of meditation. There's more than a couple, there's several. One of the ways to meditate is to have an objective. Now, once we've learned to clear our minds, or have our minds clear themselves by just letting the thoughts run until they run out, and then go to this state of happiness, and then meditate on that. Make that your intention, to create happiness whenever you wish. So if we maintain and create this state, we can feel happy whenever we want. So in our futures, we may want to create new states of happiness to get us through what we have to get through, to set intentions to get us through any times, difficult times. I think a lot of vulnerability comes when we have achieved some modicum of success, or we have reached a goal, or an intention has been realized and actualized. I think many times that's what we're seeking. And when we get there, we may spoil it. We don't have to spoil it, but we may spoil it by finding what was wrong with what happened. Well, it's okay to do that from a perspective of looking at where mistakes were made and what the opportunities are to improve them, and setting the wheels in motion to improve upon those mistakes, while still feeling happy and having an excellent attitude. By that I mean having an attitude which is tempered by humility, meaning assets and liabilities, not just positive thinking. Positive thinking has its merits. There is some positive thinking that has merits. However, positive thinking without looking at the liabilities, in other words, only looking at assets and ignoring liabilities, not a good thing. When we look at our liabilities and we find solutions and opportunities to improve on those and set the wheels in motion, we can have an attitude of happiness regarding these intentions and actions. We can. That, to me, is what I would call effective positive thinking. It's effective. Now, there's a lot of things we can do to maintain a good attitude. We can have a little daily gratitude list, maybe 3 things is all that are real, that really stand out. Maybe writing down a letter to someone that was a very special relationship to us, which is faded away, or which no longer is, or which is still very special, but just writing a letter that you never sent. Possibly remembering all of our good times, not the events themselves, however, the feelings that came up. So we remember the event, we access that state, that feeling of happiness or satisfaction. Access those states and keep them close to your vest. This is what is important. So in this time now of isolation, of distancing, of a minimum of social contact, and yeah, I know you guys really love it. You guys really love having your social contact. You love going to the bars and the clubs and partying. Those of you in the 12-step program love going to your meetings and listening to everybody share and feeling connected. You know, those of you who have other types of groups that you go to where you share and you feel connected and you feel support and love, even though it's not a perfect love. And not to get on the soapbox about unconditional love, I don't believe it exists, because humans are not unconditional beings. Humans have conditions on almost everything they do. And sometimes there's that feeling of just pure admiration and feelings of what, I use this word very sparingly, unconditional positive regard for someone, or the humility of regard for someone, looking at their assets and looking at their liabilities and saying, hey, despite the liabilities, the assets make them a vital relationship. And of course, there are those relationships to which the boundary is distance. We just owe it to ourselves not to have close involvement with those people who are toxic when they're in close proximity. And I know many people like that, unfortunately, and I think I attracted them through my own negativism that I've had. Now, some people say I'm too negative. That's fine. You can say about me whatever you want. It's none of my business what your opinion of me is. Now, if I ask for your opinion of me because I think there might be some valid information for me to improve there, then that's a different story. But too many times, I think people, including myself, give unsolicited advice. Let's refrain from giving unsolicited advice if we can. If someone asks for feedback or advice, different story. Many times, I will ask questions like, what do you think would be the best way for you to proceed with whatever this is? And unlocking what's inside the person, helping them unlock what's inside themselves to find their own answers or more questions which lead to intentions that create new questions and answers and outcomes, that's a different story. This is the story we want to engage ourselves upon. Sometimes, myself included, we get angry, we jump to conclusions. I've done this impetuously, impulsively many times. This is something I really don't like about myself, because often those conclusions or statements are wrong. And I have to let those things go. You see, I don't believe in forgiveness. I don't believe in that. And I'll tell you why. Because if I understand a situation and have compassion for my part and the part of others or circumstances in that situation, there's nothing to forgive. What I have to do, I think forgiveness has become synonymous with letting go. Because when we let go of our opinions, when we let go of our anger and our resentments, now sometimes we keep resentments forever till we die. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, unless you allow it to eat you up. If you let it go enough times, it still may come up as a resentment upon occasion. However, it doesn't control and destroy you emotionally or physically or psychologically. So there's just a lot of things that are out there that are just erroneous information and beliefs. The fewer beliefs, the better. And this is why I give people a lot of shit for praying. There's no God, okay? Prove to me there's a God and I'll go along with you. There's no God. Now, a lot of people have this amorphous concept of God. It's not the Christian God or any of the Abrahamic God concepts. It's not pagan gods, which they have concretized. They have this amorphous, this God, it's the universe, and the universe does things for me. And what we know about the universe, it doesn't give a fuck. It doesn't care about you. It doesn't care about me. It is not a being. The universe happens. The universe has action. And within that action, there are billions, maybe trillions upon trillions of other actions, either animate or inanimate or beyond those. So many people believe in this amorphous type concept of a universe type God, a ultimate reality. I reject all of that. I think you can make realities, you can make your own universes inside yourself. I think you can make your own concept of gods and God forms and they're part of you. They're not, there are parts of them which are a group mind, which are outside you, but in you, okay? So there's the within, without with all that. However, as far as a reality of a concretized type God, a universal, amorphous God, sorry folks, No cigar. Does not exist. It exists in your mind. So that's fine for you. It doesn't exist for me. It's not real. I used to believe in something like that and create my own concepts out of that, of this loving, caring God that watches over me. It's like an imaginary, omnipotent, all-loving friend. Doesn't exist. Sorry. That was me making a God out of myself to love me, which is fine. However, at one point I had to get real about it. After the thousands, I probably have prayed more than most 12-steppers and churchgoers. I probably have prayed more. I haven't prayed for years. I don't pray because I think, from my experience with prayer, it's a waste of time. It's best when it's practiced like a mantra or a meditation. Then it works okay. And I don't do that either. I do mantras. I do different types of meditations to get me to that right temporal lobe state that people call religious experience. I can have that experience dumping a load on the toilet. Because there has to be, in my opinion, some endorphins and enkephalins involved with that experience. So I don't believe in any of that. If you do, that's fine. I'm not going to debate you on it. There's nothing to debate because you have your experiences and I have mine. I don't respect or appreciate, and by respect, I mean, I don't see those viewpoints and opinions and beliefs as valid. I don't think they're valid. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I don't apologize for that. They're not valid. You have a right to believe them. I'm not going to enter into your world and take personally what you believe. Believe what you want to. That's up to you. I know that the fewer beliefs I have, the better. And that makes it easier because we're not probably ever going to get rid of all our beliefs. Probably not going to happen. And that's a positive thing because some of our beliefs, negative and positive, serve us well. They do very beneficial things for us. They may keep us from wandering in the street into ongoing traffic thinking we're going to live through that. They may keep us from making a decision which destroys our lives. They may keep us from that. They may also keep us from finding outcomes which positively benefit us. They may do that as well. Self-limiting beliefs, okay. Psychobabble things. Okay, so the less beliefs, the better. If you want to believe in all this God nonsense and pray, go ahead. I don't care. But you know what? I'm not going to compliment you for it. I am going to do my best not to comment on it and take your bullshit, which it is, in my opinion, bullshit, personally. And yes, that was an ad hominem type statement, and I did take it personally there, so apologies for that. However, if you want to do that, fine. If I read it on a social media, I'm going to just brush over it. I'm not going to argue with you. Because here's another thing. People think they have debates on Facebook. They don't have debates. They have rhetorical arguments, self-included. We don't have debates. Without facts, without people having a team sitting at a desk with batteries of facts and alternatives, real debate stuff. For instance, all these presidential debates, Democratic, Republican, whatever, none of those are debates. They were all rhetorical spew sessions. Those are not debates. On Facebook, it's not really possible to have debates. We have rhetorical arguments. Okay, you want to argue rhetorically? I do at times. Fine. However, don't tell me it's a debate. Don't give me one animal experiments to which great amounts of sample sizes are needed for statistics that are tested with modeling that may give us anywhere from a 90% or 95% confidence level. Sorry, not going to have those kind of debates on Facebook. Going to be pretty impossible without a live feed between two individuals sitting at desks with batteries of facts and citations. That can happen. That can happen. However, for 95% of the time, it doesn't. And so these rhetorical arguments are nothing but the spewing of rhetoric. So maybe, and I have done this, we want to change somebody's mind about their thinking and beliefs on things. Well, it's pretty difficult to change somebody's mind who came to their conclusions and their beliefs through long observation or even short observation. They just want to believe, like people in this so-called president, the supporters of him, they want to believe in this guy. They want to think he's really helping them. And they look for confirmation of that. Just like we who oppose him and oppose everything that he's about, almost everything that he's about, find our confirmation bias. However, when we start looking at what he does and how he lies, and we start bringing those facts up, forget about the political pundits' view, the commentators' view on all this, unless they're directly quoting him and citing him in context, it's not very useful. We do know that when we fact check this guy, he's a liar. He continues to lie. He continues to downplay. He is one of those guys that thinks he is positive and actually does more ad hominems, name calling, and very poor, immature behavior. This person is not a man. He is a male trapped in adolescence. He's an adolescent male trapped in toddler thinking. So, what do we need to do with him? Move on. Let's vote somebody else in. That's a very simple. There's a lot of solutions to people and problems like this, which are very simple. Move on. Get somebody else. It's true in relationships. Relationships not working. The other party doesn't want to work on it. I don't want to work on it. Move on. Move on. It's okay. We don't have to hate them. We don't have to call them names. We can just let it go. It sounds easy. It's not as easy as it sounds, as most of you have had these painful relationships. But are we objecting in a relationship to our thoughts about what the person was rather than what the person does? And when we look at what the person does, isn't that the real deal? And if what the person does consistently, even if it's inconsistent and that's the problem, doesn't work, if that doesn't work, we can let it go. It may take a long time, and we can move on before we let it go. So that's the answer to that. So I've gone on long about this. I'm going to return to where we started with happiness. Let's go to that place, that state inside ourselves where we have felt happy. Let's remember just the feeling of the happiness. Let's let it flood over us, wherever that is. It can flood into your heart, up to your head. It can come from your toes to the top of your head. It can go through all of your chakras and what's associated with that, if that's your belief system. It can go from your relationship with your God. It can come from all those things, if you wish. I'm not going to argue with you about that. How I do it is how I do it. And how I do it is I access the feelings of happiness and the state of happiness. And I smile. That's my anchor. I bring it up. And I let it flood over me. And I'm going to tell you, I've decided that this Wednesday, the 8th of April, I choose to go to my state of happiness as often as possible. Thank you.